Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya 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 Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad Paramhans Parivrajakacarya Stotra Shat His Divine Grace Abhay Charana Ravinda Bhaktivan त्रिदंडी गोसाई महाराज शीला प्रभुपाद की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, गौ प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 31st chapter, entitled The Movements of the Living Entities, verse 38. Balam me paśya māyāyā, balam me paśya māyāyā, strī-mayyā jayino diśām, strī-mayyā jayino diśām, yā karoti pada-ākrāntān, yā karoti pada-ākrāntān, bhrūvi-jṛmbheṇa kevalam, bhrūvi-jṛmbheṇa kevalam, balam me paśya māyāyāḥ, strī-mayyā jayino diśām, yā karoti pada-ākrāntān, bhrūvi-jṛmbheṇa kevalam, paśya māyāyāḥ, bhrūvi-jṛmbheṇa kevalam, balam me paśya māyāyāḥ, strī-mayyā diśām, yat karoti pada-ākrāntān, bhrūvi-jṛmbheṇa kevalam, balam me paśya māyāyāḥ, bhrūvi-jṛmbheṇa kevalam. Balam me paśya māyāyāḥ. strī-mayyā bhavano diśām. Ya karoti pada-ākrāntān. bhrūvi-jṛmbheṇa kevalam. Vaishnavis. Balam me paśya māyāyāḥ. strī-mayyā jayino diśām. Ya karoti pada-ākrāntān. bhrūvi-jṛmbheṇa kevalam. Balam, the strength. Me, my, paśya, behold. Māyāyāḥ, of māyā. strī-mayyā, in the shape of a woman. Jayinaḥ, conquerors. diśām, of all directions. Ya, who, karoti, makes. pada-ākrāntān, following at her heels. Bhrūvi, of her eyebrows. Jṛmbheṇa, by the movement. Kevalam, merrily. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Just try to understand the mighty strength of my māyā in the shape of woman, who by the mere movement of her eyebrows can keep even the greatest conquerors of the world under her grip. Purport. There are many instances in the history of the world of a great conquerors being captivated by the charms of a Cleopatra. One has to study the captivating potency of woman and man's attraction for that potency. From what source was this generated? According to Vedānta-sūtra, we can understand that everything is generated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is enunciated there, janmādy yataḥ. This means that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the Supreme Person, Brahman, the Absolute Truth, is the source from whom everything emanates. The captivating power of woman and man's susceptibility to such attraction must also exist in the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the spiritual world, and must be represented in the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The Lord is the Supreme Person, the Supreme Male. As a common male wants to be attracted by a female, that propensity similarly exists in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He also wants to be attracted by the beautiful features of a woman. Now, the question is, if he wants to be captivated by such womanly attraction, would he be attracted by any material woman? It is not possible. Even persons who are in this material existence can give up womanly attraction if they are attracted by the Supreme Brahman. Such was the case with Haridas Thakur. A beautiful prostitute tried to attract him in the dead of night, but since he was situated in devotional service, in transcendental love of Godhead, Haridas Thakur was not captivated. Rather, he turned the prostitute into a great devotee by his transcendental association. This material attraction, therefore, certainly cannot attract the Supreme Lord. When he wants to be attracted by a woman, he has to create such a woman from his own energy. That woman is Radharani. It is explained by the Goswamis that Radharani is the manifestation of the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the Supreme Lord wants to derive transcendental pleasure, he has to create a woman from his internal potency. Thus, the tendency to be attracted by womanly beauty is natural because it exists in the spiritual world. In the material world, it is reflected pervertedly, and therefore there are many inebriities. Instead of being attracted by material beauty, if one is accustomed to be attracted by the beauty of Radharani and Krishna, then the statement of Bhagavad Gita, Param Drishtva Nivartate, holds true. When one is attracted by the transcendental beauty of Radha and Krishna, he is no longer attracted by material feminine beauty. That is the special significance of Radha Krishna worship. That is testified by Yamunacharya. He says, quote, since I have become attracted by the beauty of Radha and Krishna, when there is attraction for a woman or a memory of sex life with a woman, I at once spit on it and my face turns in disgust. End of quote. When we are attracted by Madana Mohana and the beauty of Krishna and his consorts, then the shackles of conditioned life, namely the beauty of material woman, cannot attract us. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paśyata Vistarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Shikor Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So this continues the description by Kapila Dev of the situation of Jiva in this material world. And I think in a couple of verses previous to this, I think it was verse 36, it is described how even Brahma got bewildered by the attraction of her own daughter. It is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam that the mind is so powerful that it can overcome all the other senses. And it is described that even like in this case where Brahma is getting attracted by his own daughter, it is mentioned that a sane person should not be even alone living with their own mother or own sister, because the mind is very, very powerful. It can overcome all other senses. And this has been described in many, many places, like how attraction between man and woman is very, very strong. So we see in the 6th canto how Ajamil being so fixed in his, we can say, prescribed duties in Varnashram. He was born into a Brahmana family. He was very well doing his prescribed duties. But one fine day, when he witnessed the provocating movements of a prostitute and a man, and they were uniting and embracing, we all know what happened to that person. He lost all his purity. His mind got attracted to that whatever, and then he was thinking about that over and over again, and he lost all his righteousness, his we can say firmness in continuing as Brahmana was completely lost, because he was completely contemplating on that, because it's a very we can say strong attraction naturally. So it is described in many, many scriptures, including Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, how this contemplation can lead to a complete fall down. I think it is 262 in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Dhyayatyo Vishayan Pumsam Sangat Teshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kama Krodha Vijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha Sammoha Smriti Sammoha Smriti Bhramsat Smriti Bhamsat Buddhi Nasho Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati. This is a vivid description given by Krishna as how somebody who is contemplating not just on desire to unite with opposite gender, but anything in this world, when we think of, we can say, possessing something, and we are completely absorbed, our mind is absorbed in gaining that, no matter how, by beg, borrow and steal, Prabhupada would often say, our mind completely then becomes absorbed, and by that we develop, and it describes Dhyayata Vishayan Pumsa Sangat Teshu Upajayata. You are in constant association of those feelings, and because of that, when we don't get it, we become frustrated and anger comes, anger manifests, and from there your mind becomes lost, your remembrance of good practices, it vanishes immediately, and you fall down. Fall down does not mean that they literally fall down, but they fall down into material way of living, Maya, or attachment to body. So Ajamil is a very good case, and there are many cases like this. I think there is a case of Shaubhara Muni. He was meditating for many centuries underwater, because he went inside water because he did not want it to be connected to this material world. He was inside water meditating for many centuries and millenniums. Shaubhara Muni. Shaubhara Muni. But guess then what happened? He witnessed two fishes inside underwater uniting, and his mind got completely perplexed, and he gave up his meditation, and he came out and he said, okay, I want to get married and whatever. So it's very strong. We have to accept it. It's very strong. So in this case, it is I think Prabhupada mentions the example of Haridas Thakur. So in his own pastimes of Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we see that there was a personality called Kala Krishna Das. He is a personal servant, Brahmana, who accompanied Mahaprabhu in his South India tours, and he was personally serving him. But guess what happened when he reached Kerala, deeper part of South India? There is a community called Bhattaharis, and they are, Prabhupada terms them as gypsies, and they have this very unique way of attracting, the women have unique way of attracting men and all that. And Kala Krishna Das, he got drifted. He went behind them. But then Mahaprabhu saved him. He rescued him from this association of Bhattaharis, and he brought him back. But after that, what happens? When he was brought back to Jagannath Puri, he was relieved from his service. Mahaprabhu says, I don't want you anymore. He was setting an example that you should be fixed in your service. You should be fixed in whatever seva you have been, you're doing. It could be, serving the Guru personally, or serving the deities, or there are so many services. But then here Mahaprabhu is setting an example that my servant or my disciple, or we can say my disciples or my followers, should be very strict follower of these principles. But then we also know that even though Mahaprabhu rejected him, he was ultimately rescued by Nityananda Prabhu in the background, and then he was given some seva to do preaching in West Bengal and talk about the glories of Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, South India tour. So he was still engaged. So we can see that sometimes Supreme Lord may act as which may seem he is very cruel that he rejected, but the devotees even accept those rejected cases and they still try to engage them. Because devotees are more merciful than the Supreme Lord. Krishna himself says that, my devotees are more merciful than me. And we see Mahaprabhu himself. He is Krishna himself, but when he comes in the form of devotee, he is like supremely merciful, supremely munificent. We also see the case of, was it Chota Haridas? Chota Haridas, he was a sannyasi. He was a renunciate disciple. And when he once went to beg his alms, because as per Varnashram Dharma, sannyasi has to beg, he cannot cook. He cannot light his own fire and cook. So he has to traditionally go beg for his whatever he wants to do. So one fine day he ended up begging from elderly, or maybe, I don't know what is elder, but from a woman or disciple, and she was a devotee, of course. Even that Mahaprabhu did not like it. Why? Because he is a sannyasi. For a sannyasi, he has to maintain his rules and regulation, because you are part of Varnashram now. And in Varnashram, being a sannyasi means you are like supremely renunciated. You have renunciated your family, your wife, your wealth, your education, every single thing, and completely surrender unto Supreme Lord. Or even they can be like even surrender as like Brahmavadis, even for Brahman, whatever. But a sannyasi has to follow the principles. So in this case, also Mahaprabhu rejected him. And then we know the story that how he gave up his life, but then he still was associating with Mahaprabhu in his, in his next life, or we can say transcendentally. Anyways, so this is over and over repeated in scriptures of how this attraction to opposite gender is very, very powerful. It can lead to all kind of distraction, deviation, and ultimately devastation. So I think in the 5th canto, Rishabdev, he is very beautifully describing as to how this attraction between man and woman completely binds somebody to this material life. So he says, Pumsam striya mithuni bhavametam tayor mithor hridaya granthi mahu atha griha kshetra sutapta vrittai janasya mohoyam aham mameti. He says, Pumsam striya mithuni bhavam. Mithuni means attraction. When that attraction becomes very strong, what happens? Tayor mitho hridaya granthi mahur. There is a very strong knot, which means a rope binds both their hearts. Now they are bound by each other, which means they only have attraction to each other. Where is the attraction to Supreme Lord or spiritual process? There is nothing. And because of this attraction, they then progress into material life more and more. Pravritti marg. Atha griha kshetra suta apta vrittai. From there, they have a house, kshetra, they have a land, suta, they have relatives, and then they have children, and it keeps on expanding. As Prabhupada explains, what is that? Attachment to extended family, country, state, whatever. So it keeps on expanding. There is no end to that. It's a as our scriptures describe, it's a huge ocean, Bhava Sagara. This material world is like a insurmountable energy, and which is what is described here, Maya. The Maya Shakti of the Supreme Lord is so powerful that even the great personalities can fall down, even Lord Brahma. But we have to be careful in terms of understanding this. One should not criticize Brahma for this. Brahma is a very exalted devotee. He cannot fall down. And even for his daughter, how can he fall down? He is the topmost devotee. He is the founder of this whole sampradaya. How can he fall down? If he falls down, everybody will fall down. The acharyas explain that Brahma's case is very, very special. And because he is a very dear devotee of Krishna, Krishna utilizes his devotee to set up those examples for us, for people like us. Of course, we also see that in the pastimes of Krishna described in 10th canto, how even Brahma got bewildered, that he is thinking how the Supreme Lord can be a small boy running around in Vrindavan, and he's carrying other boys on his back, and eating lunch with them, carrying yogurt rice in one hand and eating. So all these pastimes, when Brahma got bewildered, it is not because Brahma is a low class devotee. No, he's a high class devotee. But now this is a pastime of Krishna. Through the Leela Shakti of the Supreme Lord, Krishna enacts different pastimes through which he sets various principles, examples and all that. So one should not criticize Brahma for this. This is again for this pastime, Brahma running behind daughter, it is not factual, it is just a pastime of the Supreme Lord, Leela Shakti. And that Leela Shakti acts on his devotees. Like even Arjuna. How can an Arjuna status who is a Nitya Siddha, who is an eternal associate of Krishna, can be so bewildered that he lost all his control and he's saying, I will not fight, I'm not going to fight, I'm not going to follow your instructions. This is again the Leela Shakti of the Supreme Lord acting on the devotees. And then through that, then Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita for our benefit. Similarly here, through the pastimes of Brahma, he's establishing the principles. It's also important to understand how here Prabhupada is mentioning that Supreme Lord is also attracted to, we can say, Radharani. One should understand this in a right way. Of course, the attraction of Krishna towards Radharani is completely because of the power of devotion which she has for Krishna and nothing else. And Krishna is not only attracted to devotees like Radharani, he is attracted even to impure devotees, or we can say mixed devotees. Gajendra, when Gajendra called out, he did not call out with pure devotion to Krishna save me. He's just calling out because he was in pain. He wanted to get rid of that pain, of that bite of the crocodile. There was no devotion at all. He was just calling out to save me. It's a mixed devotion. It's a we can say karma mishra bhakti or whatever. But it's not Suddha Bhakti, it's not Ananya Bhakti. But even for that calling, he came immediately to save him. And it is said in our Puranas that when Krishna came on Garuda, of course he came not as Shyam Sundar form, but he came as Vishnu, who is again Krishna. Garuda was not going fast enough. And then Krishna took Garuda on his back and he then started coming so quickly because he is so attracted towards his devotees. So it is not just limited that only if you are pure, Krishna gets attracted. If that was the case, Krishna would have never saved Ajamil. When Ajamil chanted Narayana, there was no devotion. He is just calling out to his own son. Because he is now so scared of seeing those very frightened personalities, Yamadutas, that he has no choice. He is calling to whatever he knows as, his own son, and he thinks, my son can save me or whatever. But then, because he is calling out accidentally Narayana, Vishnu Dutas came, and it is very interesting how Vishwanath Chakravarti describes this. He describes, and if you look at the pictures in 6th canto and in many other places where Prabhupada is mentioning that there were 4 Vishnu Dutas who came, and it is described why 4, why not 6, why not 2, why not 1. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the name of the Supreme Lord is so powerful. In this case, when he called out Narayana, there are 4 syllables in that. Narayana. And because of those 4 syllables, 4 Vishnu Dutas came to save him. So the name of the Supreme Lord is all powerful, all attractive. And we see also in this case why Haridas Thakur is mentioned. Haridas Thakur never got an opportunity to serve Mahaprabhu personally, which means he was never in Vapu Seva. He was not serving him personally, which means he was not cooking for him, he was not massaging him like Govinda, or he was not serving like Kala Krishna Das, Vapu Seva, but he was doing Vani Seva. He was following his instructions of chanting Hare Krishna. And that instruction which he followed so, we can say, religiously, in terms of religious means to follow it very firmly and with firm conviction, that he was totally fixed in his service. He was not attracted by the spell of this woman who was of course sent by the king to bewilder him and all that. That was a master plan. But look at what was the outcome. Because of the conviction of Haridas Thakur, who was so fixed in chanting Hare Krishna, he was completely fixed. And because of his purity of the Harinam coming from his mouth, transformed the heart of that prostitute, and she became a devotee. And it is said that she took initiation from him. We need to check that, but I've heard that somewhere. Anyways, the point is, when this Hare Krishna or this name of the Supreme Lord comes from a pure devotee, emanates from Haridas Thakur in this case, transforms the heart, because it pierces the heart and it transforms how their whatever material motives goes away and all that. So as I was saying, that the Supreme Lord is so much attracted to his devotees that he is always thinking about how I can help them and how I can help them progress in their path of bhakti. So in I think it is Bhagavad Sandarbha, there Jiva Goswami is saying, of course we know the word Bhagavan is authorized and it is defined by Parashar Muni that he has 6 opulences and all that. But then here Jiva Goswami gives a very special definition, that how the Supreme Lord always supports devotees for them to progress in this path of bhakti. So he gives an etymological meaning of this, and he divides Bhagavan into 3 syllables, Bha, Ga and Van. And for Bha, it says the Lord is Bhadra. He supports the devotees. He is all auspiciousness, like Subhadra, supremely auspiciousness. But the Lord creates that auspiciousness in the devotees for them to perform bhakti. Ga comes from Gamayati, which means he helps the devotees. Gamayati means to go, and he helps the devotees to go from this material world to the spiritual world, to Krishna himself. And Van means somebody who resides, like you have Vas and Vans means almost same. Van means residing. Residing means the devotee resides in Krishna and Krishna resides in devotees. Why? Because there is an attraction based only on bhakti. So in Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Devotion, he describes when the 6 qualities of bhakti. He starts with Klesha Agni and Shubhada, and then so on and so forth. Moksha Laguta Krit, which is the devotees now derides moksha also, and then he is Sudurlabha, and then he develops a very deep attachment to the Lord. Sandrananda Vishesha Atma, he is like completely having condensed relationship. But then the last quality of that devotee or bhakti, when he attains prema, is Krishna Akarshini. Now because of his prema, pure devotion, he is attracting even Krishna towards him. And that's how Radharani is attracting. Of course, in this purport, Prabhupada mentions that the Supreme Lord has to create such a woman from his own energy. Of course, Radharani and all the jivas are eternal. They were never created. They exist eternally. But this is just to illustration that there is this, we can say, deep attraction, strong attraction between the Lord and the devotees. When that attraction is perverted in this material world, that is transformed as material lust. And Krishna describes that in various places, in 15th chapter, first verses and all that. So this is, but between devotees and Supreme Lord, the attachment is only based on bhakti and love and nothing else. And hence, we can say, of course, the Lord is attracted to all the devotees, but he is very, very closely attached and attracted by Radharani because of her highest devotion to Krishna. That is the quality, and that comes only by development of pure bhakti. I know it is close to end of the class. There are many things to be said, but I'll stop here. But the point is, Krishna is attracted not just to pure devotees, but to all kind of devotion. But our intention should be to do pure bhakti. Anya vilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulena krishnanushilanam bhakti uttama. That the uttama bhakti is defined when we give up, or we give up this give up this conception that bhakti is covered by karma, jnana, or if I don't do any karmic activities, then my bhakti is not perfect. Bhakti is independent of everything else, and one should have no desire, anya abhilashita shunyam, zero, but just to please the Supreme Lord. And that process of pleasing Supreme Lord is highest in bhakti, and in bhakti the highest process is chanting Krishna's name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we are very, very grateful to Srila Prabhupada for giving us this process for developing this highest prema for the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Any questions? Any comments? Yes, Prabhu. Okay. Any questions, Subhas Prabhu? Sure. Oh, there.
Yeah, just a detail about pastime you were talking about. Sabari Muni, you said he was in the water for centuries or thousands of years. Is that in the Bhagavatam? I don't recall reading that before.
I think it's not in the Bhagavatam, but it's in some of the Puranas mentioned. I think we'll have to look for that. It's in the purport, but I don't think it is described as a pastime in the Bhagavad Purana itself, but Prabhupada mentions that in the purport.
I'm just talking about the time he spent in the water, you know.
Oh, okay. I think he spent around 40,000 years in water or something like that. Very long time in water.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. That was very nice. A lot of examples you were giving about how different devotees in different times go through some difficulty and ultimately were held by Krishna. My observation or my understanding, you know, the Ajamila pastimes, you were, at the beginning you started speaking about that. It is described that he actually was a very religious person. He did everything like good, paka, good parents, respectful to the seniors and elders. And then suddenly he's just walking by and he saw a man and a woman embracing. He became attracted. So what I understand, you know, this is my interpretation, just trying to figure out. It looks like, you can see maybe like you can say it's like unfair. Wait a minute, this person is doing everything good and nice and everything. although we know that at the end it's just to highlight the power of the holy name. But my question will be, is it because he's not doing pure bhakti? Everything he was doing just, nicely, pious, religious, respectful, but still, was he harboring some desire there? It doesn't mention. Was he actually trying to meet some woman like that? He wasn't, according to the description.
Yeah.
Is this a pastime of the Lord just to use that particular Brahman so he could eventually mention? Can you
Yes,
say
Prabhu,
something?
thank you. Thanks for this very good question. I think it is described in the pastime of Bharat Maharaj. And I will just take a detour to explain why this is like this answer, respond to this. In case of Bharat Maharaj, he attained bhava stage. He actually got darshan of Vishnu. It is so kind of difficult to think and accept that he fell down from that position and he got attracted to not a woman but even to a deer. How can that happen? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that because in bhava stage there are still some anarthas left, which means there are still some anarthas or unnecessary things from the previous lives, or could be in this life also. And because that exists, it will manifest in some way. But the good news is Krishna saves. How he saved Bharat Maharaj? Through giving remembrance to the deer of his previous life, that how he was doing nicely, fixed his bhakti. And if you look at the description of Bharat Maharaj, I think it is in the 5th canto, that he was always engaged in worshipping, and he is one of the good examples of worshipping Krishna. And he was not just worshipping Supreme Lord but also the Devatas, because he knows Devatas are the servants of Supreme Lord. Anyways, the point is, because Ajamil in this case was not a pure devotee, in fact it is just even not mentioned if he was even doing bhakti. He was just part of Varnashram, being a Brahmana, doing his Vedic sacrifices, Pancha Mahayagya and all that. He is still in Varnashram, not even in bhakti. So of course, if a devotee can, like Bharat Maharaj, can get into situation in Brahma, what to talk about Ajamil. So of course, this is one of the pastimes to glorify the holy name ultimately. But the good news is, Ajamil was again saved by Vishnu Dutas. He got a chance, he went to Haridwar after that incident, he practiced sadhana bhakti for whatever, and then he attained perfection. But Name Bhakta Pranashyati, my devotee will never perish. Krishna gives that promise. We just have to latch onto that words and then continue our bhakti. But difficulties may come. But then, because of our attachment to Krishna, we develop a dependence on Krishna. And we depend on that dependence, that Krishna will save me. But that does not mean we take that as a benefit and do whatever nonsense we have to do. Of course, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Api che suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhu reva sa mantavya samyak vyavasito hisa. Even if my devotee engages or by accident engages in an most abominable activities, he is still to be considered my devotee. Why? He is doing ananya bhakti. He is not depending on other devatas to save me. He is still depending on Krishna to save, and he has to be considered a devotee. Or we should not criticize him for accidental mistakes and fall downs. Hopefully it answers to some extent, Prabhu. Yes, Bhrigupati Prabhu.
Yeah, I found the purport. It's 8:2:30.
There you go.
And it's, Prabhupada says, during the 1,000 years of fighting. During the 1,000 years of fighting, he could not, referring to Gajendra, got any food, and under the circumstances his bodily strength diminished, and because his strength diminished, his mind and became weak, etc., etc. The crocodile was able to...
No, his question was about Saubhara Muni.
No, Rabindranath.
Oh, was it Gajendra?
Yeah, he wanted to know about the numbers, right? It's in Canto 8, Chapter 2, Text 30. And the purport says, during 1,000 years of fighting, he could not get any food. So, but the comment I wanted to make was, you mentioned that pastime about Juna Haridas.
Choda Haridas.
Are you sure he was a a sannyasi. I was under the impression he was a brahmachari. Huh? But he was renounced, you know. Okay. And the other point was that I remember hearing that the place where he went to beg was the home of Madhavi Devi Dasi. So Lord Chaitanya had 3.5 confidential associates. She was the half. She was considered a half because she was a woman. And I believe I heard Prabhupada say, it's been a long time, but that it wasn't just her there. There was a young woman there with her. So Junior Haridas glanced lustfully at the young woman who was there with Madhavi Devi Dasi at the time. So Lord Chaitanya could understand that, and that was the reason why he rejected him from his association, because he was, you know, brahmachari back in those days was serious business. Well, it still is now, but, you know, Lord Chaitanya could understand that he did that, and he didn't want to. But just to, because that sounds pretty strict, you know, I just wanted to read this, something I found. I can't remember. I think I looked up sannyas fall down, and I found a letter that Prabhupada wrote to Rupanuga in 1974, who gave up sannyas, and I thought this would be interesting. Good, give us a proper perspective. He says in the letter, although officially it is a fall down from sannyas, in your country no one understands sannyas. The more important principle is that we should purify our thoughts and engage them in Krishna's service. Please try to understand this important principle. And at the end of the letter he says, so I request you to go back preaching vigorously along with your wife, who is also a good preacher. So that was Prabhupada's letter there in 74. And in 76, another sannyas person gave up sannyas, and in the purport, actually in the purport I was just reading to you, with, you know, that same purport, Prabhupada said that one should not give up the fighting and go away. So it is officially a fall down when you give up sannyas, but at least my understanding is it wasn't the end of the world. In Prabhupada's mind, it was not the end of the world. What was a higher principle, he said, a more important principle is that somehow or another you continue. He told Rupanuga to, okay, you know, preach vigorously with your wife. Madhavisa, that the other devotee, the same thing. You know, he said, don't give up the fighting and go away. If it doesn't work out, if he's a sannyasi, go to the grihastha ashram and just, you know, engage there, like that.
Yeah, bhakti is open. Bhakti is not just for sannyasis, because anyways, bhakti is beyond these gunas. We can see that how sannyasis, we can say, in varnashram system, it is still within the gunas, and somebody is qualified to become a sannyasi only who is a brahmana. A kshatriya cannot take a sannyasi, or a vaishya cannot take a sannyasi. And we see that how a brahmana is qualified because of his stability in sattva gun. The sattva gun gives rise to inclination to read scriptures and become detached. But even a sannyasi, if we say, not in ISKCON or any other bhakti cult, but a typical sannyasi is still within the gunas. But bhakti is so open, it is open to all grihasthas and sannyasis and vaishyas, and everybody can take. And that's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mam hi partha vyapashritya yepi su papa yonaya striyo vaishya tatha shruddhas tetpi yanti param gatim. That whoever surrenders unto me, no matter what is their background, even they are papa yonaya, even they are born of, you know, as a sinful family or whatever, still they can come to me by surrendering into him, and he makes the process bhakti open. And Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu makes it even more open by inaugurating this Harinam Sankirtan, that everybody can now participate, even mlechas, and it's open to all. So you're right, Prabhu. I mean, of course, following that regulations in being a sannyasi, you know, fix it in that. And there are many, many disciples of Prabhupada also. They're continuing for such a long time. It's been 5 decades and they're very strong and very fixed. But as I said, in case of Rupanuga Prabhu, he's now even fixed. We saw his letter recently in Prabhupada festival, how he is completely absorbed in carrying out the instruction of Prabhupada. So, any other questions, comments. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.